Hello everybody and welcome to this week's edition of the Rich Payne Show. We talk Cape Central Tigers football here. I am Vince Brown. He is third-year coach Rich Payne of Cape Central. Welcome back, Coach.
Thanks, Vince.
All right, first half of the Heartland two-step with a big old check mark, but not an easy one. A 40-28 victory over Farmington, a very tough Farmington club that threw for 275 yards against you from the hands of Zach Hibbets. You guys knew going into this contest it was going to be a tough one. First deficit of the year, as a matter of fact, a 2019 deficit at the half, but you almost shut Farmington out down the stretch, 21-8. Really a big lift for the kids.
Well, I think the kids, they kept working hard and they, believed in themselves and kept working in that second half and started to understand what it takes to, play 4 full quarters of football and play hard, be physical, and come out on the winning end. And, we made our own breaks. We didn't help ourselves with some of our mistakes and putting the ball on the ground and those things, and we've got to kind of clean that up for this week. But other than that, they played with exceptional heart and exceptional effort down the stretch.
It was interesting. You had some 5 total fumbles in the first quarter between the two teams, 3 by Central. All of them lost. They wound up losing 4 on the night. But you didn't let that worry you as maybe the last couple of teams may have done so. And it resulted in being able to turn the tide against Farmington with a turnover against them. And I thought that was real key to the kids' confidence as well, especially on the defensive side of the football.
Well, I thought so. We held them, and we also, had them turn the ball over, and two of their turnovers cost them bigger than ours did, in the ball game, and it always boils down to those big games to mistakes and assignments and all those kinds of things. So, I thought the kids also overcame some adversity in the game, and I think that's a true testament to trying to continue to be a good ball club. Is sometimes in a contest you're going to face adversity, and you got to be able to react to it in a positive manner and get ready to get busy and keep working at it.
One of the biggest plays of this entire game was that 85-yard pick six by Christopher Martin, and it looked like for a moment that Zach Hibbets made the reception to his receiver, and all of a sudden Chris Martin says, "Wow, look what I found," and starts racing down the sideline. That made it 33-20 at that time, and they never looked back from that point forward. And then on the other side of the football, one of your biggest outputs ever, 426 yards of rushing offense. Very huge, especially when the front line, especially your guards, Zach Horrell and Kevin Flesher, really led the way for a lot of those late game rushes that were popped up 20, 30, 40 yards down the line.
Well, Chris's interception was huge. I think at one point, he only had one hand on the ball and pulled it away and came away from it with, against number 5, who's a heck of a receiver. And we had that coverage specific for that kid. We went over under on him because, we knew that at times that they would go to him and so, and Chris was not playing it right to start out with because he was still thinking it's man coverage, and I got him all over the place. You do have him all over the place, but you got the underneath side of him, and somebody else has got him over the top. So, Chris played the coverage correctly and came up with a pick, and his speed took care of itself. And his brother Vaughn made some key blocks down on the return. He actually blocked 2 kids on the sidelines there to break Chris loose for the touch. So, that was big. I honestly think our line, as the ball game went along, wore them down and physically, because we kept pounding it at them, and sometimes we'd only get a few yards, and sometimes we'd have a loss. but at the same time, you know, the physicalness of continuing to get, you know, hit and run the ball and be physical with it, you know, I think paid dividends for us down the stretch, because, you know, there were times that they, you know, we were wearing them out a little bit, you know, and I think that's where the second half, I think the conditioning of these kids and I think their overall mindset paid some dividends.
We'll take a break, come on back, and we'll talk about a championship on the line, the Seymour North Conference Championship. A Central win means they clean the slate, but they've got one of the toughest customers in the always tough Sykeston Bulldogs. That next. This is the Rich Payne Show on Prepcast Southeast. We're back here on Prepcast Southeast. You're watching the Rich Payne Show, talking Cape Central Tigers football. I'm Vince Brown. He is Rich Payne, Cape Central Tigers coach. All right, time to start knocking some heads here. Week 9. This is the game everybody in the Boot Hill has been looking for. Cape Central versus Sykeston. Both teams state ranked for the first time in the same class in quite some time. You got a conference title on the line of the Seymour North title. Cape Central wins this one no matter how many points it is. They tie for a berth in the state playoffs, first time since '06, but more importantly, they also lock up a Seymour North Conference title for the first time since '03. The blogosphere has been a buzz, but again, it has been time and time proven, the trenches play is going to be so important to letting the skilled players do what they do best.
And I would concur with that on both sides of the ball. You know, they've got a good bunch, and they got a great group of skilled kids, and so do we, and they match up with us. I think, honestly, they're a little faster than we are in some spots, but we got some speed kids, but it's going to come down to, you know, how we play up front, and once again, mistakes. You know, we're going to have to not put the ball on the ground the way we did, and try to, if they do make their mistakes, you know, take advantage of those opportunities like we did last week. But, you know, they're a well-coached ball club. They're fundamentally sound. You know, they've reloaded from last year. Yes, they lost, you know, X number of seniors from last year's ball club. But I think in some positions they may be more skilled. Maybe not as experienced, but more skilled in some ways. So, and defensively, they're exceptionally fast. So, you know, the ability for us to break off those big runs, you know, may not be there, you know, tomorrow night. So we're going to have to just keep plugging at it and do what we do and try to be efficient, you know, offensively and defensively. And the big thing defensively is to keep them in front of us. If we can keep them in front of us and tackle well and make them earn their right, like I've said all year, to try to get down the field and get a score, then I feel good about our chances. You know, it's going to be a tough ball game. It's going to be 4 quarters, and it's it's that time, but it's a big ball game, and that's what you play the game for. That's what you get excited about, is to play this kind of contest and you know, put all the chips on the table and see who comes out.
You know, the interesting thing about this season is that this is the first season, I think a lot of people have remembered, that every game that Central has won, they've scored first. That might be an intangible that could come into play a little bit later on to this contest, because if Sykeston happens to score first, now you've got a different dynamic to work with, especially on your home field, Houck Stadium. You think the kids' mindset is prepared for a potential Sykeston first score and ready to bounce back and answer that score back every time they score?
Well, I believe so. I mean, but I wouldn't disagree with that. But at the same time, I think it's going to be a 4-quarter ball game. You know, it's not going to be won or lost in the first quarter, second quarter, third quarter. It's going to be won or lost in the fourth quarter. So, you know, yeah, you got to be able to react to what happens on the field and the adversity that happens. And I talked to the kids last week, and I'll have the same conversation with them before the game starts, is no matter how the ups and downs of a contest go, you've got to keep your emotions at a constant high peak and not let them go down the valley and back up in the hills and those things. And try to make sure that you maintain that effort and maintain your focus for 4 quarters. And I think that's been a mark of this ball club so far. And hopefully we can continue to do that. You know, we'll be challenged. I mean, we'll be challenged in a big way with Sykeston. A lot of those kids on that ball club, you know, they made the run with them last year into the state playoffs and those things. And they know what it's like to be in big ball games. So But it's not. We're not foreign to it now either. We've been, had last week, and then we had the Jackson game, and we've had the O'Brien game, and we've had games where we've had to, have a big ball game and come out on the winning end. So, I think it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun for the fans, the media, everybody. The only people it's not fun for is those of us that are engrossed in it and get stressed out over those things. But anyway, I think it's going to be a good night and a good fun atmosphere, and just let it roll and see how it comes out.
We've always talked about going inside the numbers and seeing what the intangibles are to the success so far of Cape Central, and one of them has been their defense. This past week, looking at the updated stats, 51 tackles for loss, and the clubhouse leader, would you believe, a resurging Devin Rowlett coming back after that early week 1 injury. He really has come on strong in the linebacker corps as of late.
Devin, as a defensive end, does a nice job. He's fast, he slants well, and he's used his body much better this year. The last couple of years, he's been semi-robotic at times, but this year he runs better. His flow to the ball is better. So I'm happy with Devin's play, and Devin's one of those kids that started the defensive end and allowed us to keep some of the offensive linemen fresh, because he plays defense and defense only. So Devins came along, and so is David Huffman, and then we have the 1-2 punch at the nose with Chris Bird and Jeremy Lamb, and so those guys are their contributions. And if you look at the contributions across the board, those contributions are coming from a lot of different angles and a lot of different people. So I can't be happier with this group of kids. Win, lose, or draw tomorrow night. They're continuing to play hard and practice hard. We had a great day of practice yesterday, and today's a mental day and a lot of focus day to get prepared for what we got coming up. So I think they're ready for the challenge.
Well, week 9 is here. It is the conference title on the line. Hopefully, we could be looking at 9-0 for Cape Central. But even at 8-1, it's still a pretty good season, but it's going to be a knockdown drag out. The North Conference title, Thursday, October 21st. You can hear it live when Prepcast Southeast beginning at 6:50 p.m. Special pregame at 5:30 p.m. Talking about a very, very wonderful atmosphere. Again, thank you to Coach Rich Payne of the Cape Central Tigers, and good luck in the conference championship.
Thanks, Vince. Appreciate it.
This is the Rich Payne Show. I'm Vince Brown, and you are watching Prepcast Southeast.